Hey guys, it's Paul with SlasherIndex.com, and I wanted to do a VHS topic video. This video is going to be about how I started to collect horror videos. I've noticed that a lot of people lately have been doing videos like Ask Me kind of videos, and they'd answer your questions. But I thought it'd be a cool idea just for me to lay out my story here, and hopefully after I finish this video I'll ask you guys that same question. How'd you start? And you can do a video response or whatever, so let me get started. So, I'm 23 years old, which means that I was only a toddler in the late 80s and early 90s, but even at that time it was still a big video boom, or the videos were still strong. And let's see, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, my grandmother who lived in Copiague at the time, and she had a VHS collection of over 3,000 videos, wall to wall of VHS tapes. Now you might be thinking I'm exaggerating, but I'm really not. I had a really cool grandma. She had everything. She had horror films, slasher films, adventure, everything, Disney movies, and she really did have over 3,000 videos. She had them all categorized in a spiral notebook, cataloged and everything, and neighbors would come in with big long lists of movies they wanted to borrow. She was the person to go to if you didn't want to go to the video store and rent them. Pretty much where she got all these videos from were just recording them off the TV like HBO, or copying them from videos she rented at the video store, or just renting videos at the video store and not bringing them back, or just buying them. Sad thing is that she never kept the original slipcase. She just took the tape out of the box and put it into a black clamshell kind of case. But she had a lot of movies, and being a young kid at the time where the video was really popular, videotapes, and where horror films were pretty popular, naturally I grew around it all. When the adults were around, I would watch Disney movies, and when the young teenagers in the family were babysitting us, young cousins, we'd watch slasher films, and that's pretty much how I was first introduced into videotapes. I remember watching Sleepaway Camp 2 and Basket Case at that age. But around 1990, the house burnt down, 1991. Now the tapes didn't melt in the fire, but the smoke, the black smoke from the fire got into the VHS cassettes, and you could play them in a VCR, but it would screw your VCR up, and then you'd have to clean the heads in the VCR. It was just horrible, so pretty much all those tapes went to waste. She really had a ton of tapes, and it was pretty awesome. As a little kid, I always loved horror films, but I wasn't a fan. But I was always a Friday the 13th fan. I always loved Jason. And ever since a young child, I knew that the second I turned 18, that I would get a tattoo of Jason. And I did, and that's exactly what happened. So, I didn't really get into become more of a bigger fan of horror films until I was around 13 years old, when I went to a cousin's house, and they had big stacks of VHSs that they rented from the video store. And I was like, what are we going to do, watch all these tonight? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, alright, that's cool, I love horror films. So we started to watch them. I remember one of them was Pumpkinhead 2. And although that might not be a really good movie, but it really got me into the spirit of really getting into horror films. And we were renting these from a store, Hollywood Video. Some of you guys might have heard the store. I have one around the corner from me. And we were part of a program where if you rented 5, you could get 5 free. So we would rent the whole Children of the Corn series and try to watch it in one night. Or Puppet Master movies, as bad as some of those are, Friday the 13th films. That's what really got me into it, and one of the series of films that I started to watch was Silent Night, Deadly Night. And the video store only had 2 through 5. You know, Part 4 is The Initiation, Part 5 The Toy Maker. I didn't really rent those too much, but I rented Part 2 several times, just because I really liked what it showed from the first movie. 45 minutes of Part 2 is clips of Part 1. So I thought to myself, you know, I gotta find this movie. I gotta get my hands on it. Where am I gonna get this movie? Video stores didn't have it. It was out of print at the time. I think some video stores even had the sequels, but they just did not have the first one. That's the best one in the series. I got the internet around that time for the first time, and I found Amazon. And at the time, Amazon had something called Z-Shops, where it wasn't like the marketplace where you could buy from other sellers like it is now, but back then it was called Z-Shops, and they also had auctions, which was really cool because you were able to get a lot of obscure videos just from the Amazon auctions, which I think they ended maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, but it was really awesome. But that's where I got my first VHS for Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1, and that was the first VHS I really had to track down. So after that happened, I started to think back. I was like, what other movies can I look up that I remember from my childhood? So I remember as a little kid seeing Basket Case, as I said, or Sleepaway Camp 2, and then I just started to track down these movies on the computer on Amazon, and I just started to develop a collection. I started buying VHSs from the store, which were, they were still making VHSs at the time. And as some of them came out on DVD, I got rid of the VHSs, but I held on to the movies that were out of print. Well, skimming message boards and stuff, really getting into the horror, I realized that there were a lot of movies that deserved to be on DVD, and a lot of people wanted to see them on DVD. So I started to transfer some of my videos onto DVD, to share with other people, other horror fans. Around that time, I remember there was a guy on eBay selling the producer's cut of Halloween 6 on like a DVD, and he was selling it for over 100 apiece, and I thought, maybe I could sell some of these movies. So after selling these videos that were transferred to DVD, these DVD discs, I started to buy more obscure stuff, and I started searching the bowels of hell for really obscure horror films. Remember, Attack and Kill Refrigerator was one of the first ones that I had to track down. A lot of movies with the massacre in the title, and it just really it grew from there, and I just started to become a really religious fan. So yeah, that's my story, and that's how I got into collecting VHSs. A lot of people come to me asking me, how many VHSs do you have? This person says he has 5,000. This person says he has 10,000. How many do you have? People think that, numbers are so important. It's not how many you have, it's what you have. I know K&J Horror has a ton of awesome stuff, a lot of rare stuff, more rare stuff than me, of course. But half his room is filled with junky VHSs, like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream. Even if you did cut his collection in half, it's still a lot more bigger than mine. I'm just saying that, I'm not going to waste my time with junky VHSs I could buy on Amazon for a penny. Not going to happen. So it may seem like I don't have a lot, but what I do have is some really valuable stuff, and I don't know how many. Maybe like 800 videos or something. I have about 800 or 1,000 DVDs. I collect mostly VHSs right now because we'll always be able to buy DVDs. They're always putting them out, either whether they're on Blu-ray or not. But VHSs, they're done. You're not going to get them again. You're never going to have a re-release from Media Home Entertainment to All Good Night. It's not going to happen. You got to get it while you can, because we're not going to see them anymore. So that's why I kind of switched over from DVDs to get the VHSs, because at some point it's going to be impossible to get them at a decent price. So that's my story, and now I'd like to ask, what's your story? How did you start to collect horror VHSs? I know there's a lot of newbies out there, and a lot of the newbies think that if they spend all their lunch money savings on a super rare VHS, that they can catch up to people like collectors like me, which is not how it works. And it's not a matter of catching up to anybody. It's a matter of seeing what you can get, not trying to be better than anybody else. And I get the gist that's the case for some people, but that's unfortunate. But whatever, like I said, what's your story?